Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from Am I the Butthole? Our first story is by Fast Wrangler 827. Am I the butthole for buying noise-canceling earbuds to tune my wife out in the morning? I am 32 and male. My wife is 36. We've been married for 5 years now. I work in a job where every morning I have different tools and items to prepare. On some days, I'll be working in an office building. Other days, I'll be in a meeting, and occasionally I'll be working at someone's house. Each job requires different tools. Each day requires different preparations to go smoothly. My wife has a very bad habit of following me around with miscellaneous items, chosen haphazardly, asking if I need them that day or not. She seems to think that she's helping me, but she only distracts me and has caused me to forget things I actually did need at times. The issue is she won't do it once or twice. She'll rapidly fire out ideas, and when I thank her but tell her I don't really need any help, she just goes, yeah, but how about this, as she holds up a new item. I've tried sitting her down and explaining to her that she's not helping me, but she keeps doing it. The low point came last week when she got really stuck on a carton of yogurt I had bought. She noticed the expiration date was coming up in 4 days and asked when I was going to eat it. I said later. She then asked if I wanted it for lunch. I said yogurt that had been sitting in my hot car for hours wasn't an appetizing lunch idea, which encouraged her to start Googling how long yogurt can sit out for. This allowed me to get the rest of my belongings and head out. As I pulled out of the driveway, my wife came out the front door in her pajamas and started trying to chase me down on foot, yelling about the yogurt. I waved and left. That was my breaking point. After work, I went shopping and got myself a cheap pair of noise-canceling earbuds. From the next morning, I put them in, played some white noise. I'm not a big music guy, and went about my business. My wife kept trying to get my attention by waving her hand in front of my face as she held miscellaneous items, but it was a lot easier than normal. I've also found that sending her on a little mission to get something will help a lot and wish I had thought of it sooner. Last night, she sat me down and got really angry for ignoring her in the morning. I asked what I was supposed to do, to which she responded, "You're supposed to listen to your wife." Did I go too far for taking this step? No, and she's obnoxious. You sat her down and told her she's not helping and to stop it, and she didn't, and she says you're bad for ignoring her? I think you should wear those earbuds for longer and longer periods of time until she stops it, and tell her that's what you're going to do until she knocks it off. You have no choice. If she can't stop on her own, you got to help her. Our next story is by SMDIIIQ. Am I the butthole for deciding I won't let my boyfriend be a stay-at-home dad after I said he could be? My boyfriend's a 26 male and I'm a 27 female. We've been together for 5 years. I make around $140,000 a year working as a QA manager, quality assurance, I think, and he makes $40,000 to $50,000 working as a warehouse forklift driver. He's never been into working. Who is, honestly? And we talked about him being a stay-at-home dad, and initially I agreed because childcare is expensive. We want at least 2 kids. 7 months ago, he lost his job when there was a push for unionization, and some people were essentially bullied out. He was without a job, and I agreed to cover living expenses fully if he does the housework, cooks, etc. Before, I really didn't think of his ability as a stay-at-home dad. In the 7 months, I come home to empty beer bottles, trash on the coffee table, and the fridge is constantly empty because he was supposed to go buy groceries, but never does. And when he does, it's mostly junk food. We originally agreed he would cook and has cooked maybe 4 meals for me. I'm still doing most of the cooking and cleaning. Now I just can't imagine him as a stay-at-home dad. He just sleeps in and barely applies for jobs. He just got one, but that's finally in response to me putting my foot down and saying I'm no longer supporting him. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and with 4 kids, she still kept a spotless house and cooked every meal from scratch. We've been fighting about this a lot recently, and I've told him that if we do have kids, he has to work because he isn't contributing at all now, so I can't imagine he'll do anything as a stay-at-home dad. He yelled that he has to apply for jobs and he's under a lot of stress. But what's the stress? He has everything taken care of and he barely applies to 1 to 2 jobs a day. He didn't do anything we agreed upon with me taking care of finances, and I don't know how to move forward with the relationship. But am I the butthole for no longer wanting him to be a stay-at-home dad now that I see what he's been like this last 7 months? You're not the bad guy, but it sounds like he's got severe depression and potentially alcoholism going on right now. People can change. I am very close with somebody who changed that in their life, so it can happen, but it takes a lot of personal strength to do that. The comments seem to overwhelmingly agree. Be really careful that you don't have kids with him until he proves that he can break free from what he's doing right now. Top comment by WholeAd2742 says, not the butthole, and absolutely do not have children with this person until and unless he has had a hard reevaluation of his own life and priorities. Frankly, you should boot him. Underneath that, Boeing 36780 says, for some people, it seems like the process of writing to Am I the Butthole and the reaction thereto is the moment of clarity they needed. She does end up leaving this relationship, so... The second poster again said, so happy to read the edit. After the tale of woe, the only sane conclusion was she needed to DTMFA. I'm sure that's got some swearing in it. I don't know what DTMFA stands for, and I'm sure it's listed somewhere in Reddit. They have a list somewhere of all the acronyms, but I can't look it up at the moment. Underneath that by Let's Try This Again 30. Yeah, even if the depression part is true, OP can't be responsible 100% for financial responsibility, 120% of household upkeep because he seems to make more of a mess than clean up, and 100% responsible to make sure he takes care of his mental health. Even if everything was amazing up to this point, it's really easy when everything is going well. You don't really know someone until you deal with something at least a little hard together. He's proved he's useless and maybe even a burden. That's my stance too. He's got some work to do before you can move forward. And if you're in a situation like this, make sure that you don't have kids with them because you're just going to be overwhelmed. If you're handling all the financial and all the house cleaning and all the cooking and every little thing, and this person is just creating a disaster at home and doing nothing, I get it. They may be depressed, but you do not have kids with them or you will be overwhelmed. Our next story is by One Protection 57. Am I the butthole for insisting on going on the family vacation of my ex-boyfriend? I'm 34 female and my ex-boyfriend is 25. We were together for 1.5 years. Our breakup was amicable. I never assumed it would last given the age difference. I got along well with his family, even with his mother, who understandably wasn't a fan of our relationship given the age gap, but did like me as a person. Before our breakup, we were invited to a destination wedding of his cousin in Hawaii. I was asked to make the arrangements for flights and hotel. I didn't mind, so we made the arrangements together, selecting the place and flight times, and I put it all on my credit card with the promise that they would pay back their portions when they could. It cost over $2,000 each. I have a good job and could pay off the whole trip and was happy to do it to save them interest on a credit card. Since then, we broke up. Recently, I got an email from his mother asking for the flight and hotel information. I politely reminded her that they would need to pay back their portion. It has been 3 months since we booked the trip, and asked if they would reimburse me for my portion of the hotel/Airbnb since we broke up and I wouldn't be attending. At first, her response was cool, but polite, saying I would get my money eventually. She wrote back again with a much different tone, demanding the information for the hotel/Airbnb, and I saw I was causing undue stress while they were planning for this big trip. I replied that I would happily share that information once I was reimbursed. She said that I would not be reimbursed for my portion of the accommodation expenses and that she was going to tell everyone how terrible I was for holding the hotel information hostage. I texted my ex and asked what was happening and why things had taken such a turn. He said I was being unreasonable and making everything about money, which was unfair since I knew they were struggling financially and I wasn't. I said that it didn't feel very fair to me that I was basically paying for them to go on this trip and getting nothing. He assured me that they would work on paying me back when things got better for them financially. I said that just wouldn't work for me since I had no guarantee and no idea of how long that would be, and I would still be out thousands of dollars since they didn't want to reimburse me for my portion. I offered instead to let them share one side of the Airbnb and one room of the hotel, but that I would be staying in the room as well. He was outraged and said that I was making things weird, But my side is that I have the time off for work and paid for it, so why shouldn't I go? I told him that I was still within the range to cancel the reservations if that was a better fit, which he also didn't like because prices are much higher and places are harder to find now. I won't attend the wedding, of course, but I don't see why I can't take the vacation that I planned and paid for. Am I the butthole? Obviously not. You paid for it. They haven't paid you back yet. They shouldn't even be going. You should cancel these. You should cancel all except yours. And then you should go on your own. You don't have to have affiliations with your ex anymore or his family. Top comments also agreed. Emergency ad 5935 said, "Not the butthole. It's been several months and you haven't been reimbursed for even a portion of the trip. In my opinion, since you've paid for everything, it's your vacation to enjoy. If you can afford it, why not just cancel the extra airline tickets, keep the Airbnb, and have a lovely time in Hawaii on your own?" One Protection 57, the OP, says, "That's exactly how I feel." Then that's what you should do. That is what you should do. Emergency ad 5935 replied and says, "Sounds like you have a wonderful vacation coming up. Hope you have a great time and no baggage issues arise during your travels. Lol." Sled Belly replies and says, "Agreed with this take. Cancel their portion. Keep the trip. Have an amazing time being a single woman on vacay, baby." That's precisely what you should do. You're not hurting them by doing this either. They can't afford to go. They should have paid you back for these tickets before the trip came around. It's been months. They had plenty of time to save up and pay for it. You should not just give them the information. They're not just going to go on your dime and pay you back eventually when they can. Doesn't matter if they're struggling. This isn't a freebie vacation. This was a vacation you planned to go with them, and now that you guys are separated, you should be going on your own. They should make different arrangements. You didn't anticipate this. You're not doing anything buttholishly. You are in the clear. Go enjoy yourself. Today's episode has come to a close yet again. Until we meet again, have an enlightened day.